licked drapes or shattered chandelier. Kick off your shoes, stay a while and sing the blues with me. But before you do, heed my warning. I'm the ruin. I only haunt this heart. I would give my soul, but it's already gone. I will have you because I'm lonely, but I will use you up and make a ruin of you. Listen, you can't clean up this place. I mean, I'll let you try if you want to, but listen, you have a beautiful face. It's not the one I want, but I can make do. Go hang your coat, stay a while and tell a joke for me. Make yourself at home, but I will say I told you so. I'm a ruin. I only haunt this heart. I would give you my soul, but it's already gone. I will have you if you ask me, but I will use you up and make a ruin of you. You don't have to live like this. You deserve every happiness I once knew. Joy, commitment with your body to the worship. Children and years of bliss. For me, there will be no more bells. I am just a show, and this is my living hell. I'm a ruin. I only haunt this heart. I would give my soul, but it's already gone. I will have you because I'm weak, but I will use you up and make a ruin.
Welcome in, Raiders from Troll Lord Games. Let's get rid of the music. Good evening, everyone. How is everyone doing? You are just on time, just getting started. Yes, Devils represent. Thank you, Ty. Hey. First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming in. I want to thank Troll Lord Games for the raid. Troll Lord Games is a sponsor of this channel, and as such, we do have a giveaway. Exclamation point ticket is for a $10 digital product coupon. And we will be drawing that at the end of the stream. Don't worry about the bad typing, Chris. I speak perfectly fluent Taiwanese, you know. Yeah, so $10 digital product coupon, exclamation point ticket to enter. And the drawing will be in just about an hour from now. So you won't have to wait too long to find out whether you win. Orc Skull, yes, I am a Greyhawk Creatives member, and a proud member of such. Actually, Lord Gazumba, who I should really shout out right now. And I'll shout out TLG as well, even though you all just came from there. So I'm pretty sure that you know who they are. It is really been my gateway really to the streaming community in general. So yeah, I owe him big thanks. And as such, I should mention that badges are now available for Virtual Greyhawk Con number 5. It's amazing to think that this is the 5th one It is coming up in October, and I just thought about that, and I really need to get a timer set up for that one for future streams. But October badges are now available at Tabletop Events. It's like $5 plus whatever their service charge is. It's a nominal fee. Will be the people will be are submitting games. I don't know what the full timing of that is in terms of when we. Oh, thank you, Jay. When we will see those, when we will see what games are available, and then at some point tickets will open and you'll be able to sign up for games. In the past, I have run a few games and then played in a whole lot of games. This year is going to be different. This year, I will be purely, with the exception of one. There is one game that I want to play in that I'm not going to mention only because it's kind of I won't call it bucket list, but it's on my list of games that I've wanted to be a part of, but I've not yet had the opportunity to do so. I know when it is, and but beyond that, I'm planning. I can neither confirm nor deny that, Jay. Troller Games, thank you for the gift subs. Oh, that's really kind. I really appreciate it. Hey, Kingsley, good to see you. And so, with that in mind, I highly encourage, if you like playing, well, one, In the World of Greyhawk, or you just want to play some gaming, it's going to have everything from Castles and Crusades to probably some. I hesitate to call it basic Dungeons and Dragons, but either BX or BECMI, or was OSC is the other equivalent, to AD&D First Edition, Second Edition, probably going to be some Third Edition or Pathfinder 1, and some Fifth Edition as well. We're not basically there's no restriction on what system you can run. All that is asked is that the games take place in the world of Greyhawk. So I highly encourage, if you like playing with other people and playing in a convention where it's a virtual con. Some games are streamed, some are not, but it's really cheap. And there's a full weekend. It'll be the first weekend in October. I believe that's October 4th through 6th. Yep, October 4th through 6th. Or as I like to call it, Hawktober. So with that in mind, let's get to the topic at hand, because we have a really, really good topic tonight. This actually popped up. It's comes from a discussion that I was having with someone on the Troller Games Discord this afternoon, because I always, it's a constant thing. It's terrible. This really professional organization I've got here of me, myself, and I always fail to come up with topics ahead of time. It's usually the day that that the stream is going to be, that I'm sitting out trying to figure out what the heck I'm going to talk about for an hour. And there was a discussion of encumbrance and encumbrance size and stuff for carrying treasure, and how the characters would get the stuff out. And I am not going to bore you with a discussion of encumbrance values in CNC or, treasure weight and such. That's a different topic. And honestly, that is just one that I really, it's one of those things that makes your brain. I am honestly more of the, kind of eyeball it and say, all right, you're going to need some help with this one. It's not going to be something you can just carry out on your own. All optional rules. That is also true. But here's the thing. Let's go with a pop culture reference thing. Pop culture bit for our frame of reference here. I'm gonna say that most, if not all of us, have either read The Hobbit, and I'm specifically talking about The Hobbit here, or seen the Hobbit movies specifically. And with that in mind, I want you to think about Smaug's treasure hoard. We talk about the things that the PCs are going to want to do, and eventually, you're playing a game that was based on, it owes its lineage to Dungeons and Dragons. And yeah, it'd be nice to really actually get to kill a dragon at some point. Put that on the PC bucket list. And sometimes, that it'd be the last thing that they ever do or try to do. But you successfully killed the dragon. The party is feeling really, really good about themselves, those who've managed to survive. And you are staring at this enormous treasure hoard. Now, I'm not saying that all treasure hoards are going to be the size of Smaug's. I mean, that one, I realize part of it was for visual effect, but, I mean, that treasure hoard was like absurd. I mean, it was filling the entire room with gold coin, the entire chamber. And it was a massive chamber that one large enough for Smaug to fly around in, I should say. I can use words. And you think about let's leave aside the part about the Arkenstone because it doesn't really matter. It's really, it's not germane to discussion, partially because there was the issue of, you also had the issue of Thorin's sickness, the wanting to keep the entire hoard and not give it up. Again, not really the issue at hand where we're talking about this, but it does point to the issue of, okay, you've got this hoard, and unless you're like the dwarves of said dwarves in The Hobbit, where the treasure hoard just happens to be in the place that they want to be, you got to get the treasure hoard out, or you want to at least try to get the treasure hoard out. So how do you do this? I mean, you've got more gold coins, and even let's say a dragon hoard's treasure in terms of coins is a quarter of the size of what you saw in the film. That is still a ridiculous amount of gold. You've got all the items, any items that were in the gems and jewelry, that's all there. A treasure hoard of a dragon of adult size, could be more gold than most parties otherwise would see in their entire adventuring lifetime. Possibility. It's why going after a dragon is such a big thing, because they know that they have treasure hoards. They know that they keep that hoard in sight. So it's all going to be pretty much where they can see it, where they can keep count of it, where they can count it and eyeball it and, go to sleep over it or whatever it is dragons do when they're not being hunted by, adventurers who have, probably taken leave of their senses, to be honest with you. So there are issues at hand, and this is a kind of thing that it actually sparked a discussion when I brought up the topic. A discussion sparked in my Discord, which was kind of funny, except for the fact that I loved the discussion. I was like, but we probably should save some of this for the stream. And things that were brought up. First of all, knowing what's in there. Here's the problem. A dragon has died. How long is it? T-Cat, thank you so much for the 100 bits. I really appreciate it. Very kind of you. How long is it before somebody notices that the dragon is no longer there? Is the dragon one to venture out occasionally and terrorize the countryside? Is it a dragon that spends more time sleeping than anything else? Was it a dragon that didn't need to leave because it had, because that's a good point. Dragon has to eat. Now, did the dragon have minions that brought it food? With the promise of not being eaten on their own, so that the dragon didn't have to go anywhere. Possibility. Was there smoke, occasionally rising, say for a red dragon, were there signs of life that were always there, that if they went quiet, somebody's going to notice? Plus, you've got your party. Animals are disappearing. This is true. Animals and anything else that the dragon decides to want to eat are going to, probably be disappearing. And the interesting thing there, though, when you consider a dragon, depending on how often you decide a dragon needs to eat, I'm going to guess the animals that are disappearing have, depending on how long the dragon's been in residence, have anything local or reasonably local already gone. If the dragon needs to eat often enough, it's going to need to go hunting in a ever increasing radius from where, or its minions are going to need to go from ever increasing radius from the center. Well, I see you, Ty. All kinds of solutions. Here's the thing, though. Do you really need to be an evil DM to come up with those solutions? Because I would submit to you that I can find ways to do this without ever having to delve into the evil side of my DM mind. There was a question. One of the questions that was raised was regarding like the local farmers and such who've been terrorized with this dragon all along, and them feeling they're owed compensation, they're owed a portion of the dragon's hoard because the dragon has, and the ranchers and livestock, sure, absolutely, because the dragon has terrorized them, for however long the case may be. So I think, it's a good point. From a technical standpoint, I don't think it's going to be even if all of them came, I don't even think it'd be close to being the biggest drain on the treasure hoard. Assuming that it is a huge treasure hoard and not some, rinky-dink bargain basement dragon treasure hoard where you rolled poorly on everything. Going with the idea that it is a massive hoard, how much gold would it realistically take to give all the farmers and ranchers enough gold, more gold than they've seen in their lifetimes? Unless gold is unless gold comes, is ridiculously devalued in your campaign, not that much. Maybe for the richest of them, yeah, some of them may have never seen a gold coin. For ranchers, maybe they probably have, because they're selling in the kind of volume that, depending on who they're selling their cattle to, they may have. But yeah, a lot of them, well, sure. Greed knows no bounds, but at the same time, they also know that they're going up against a group that killed a dragon. So, there comes a point where it's easy to buy. It should be easy enough to buy them off. Easy to buy them off, and easy, pretty much, relatively, expensive, at a great amount towards them, but really cheaply for the party. Even more so, hire them, because getting a horde out is difficult. Now you bring up the royalty and nobility. Here's where things do. Yeah, it does get messy. Because now for nobles are an interesting one. I'm gonna go straight to the royalty, because what's one of the things that gold represents, besides just pure wealth of the kingdom, what it is the ability to weather a storm. If say there's a famine within the country, it is the ability to feed the people, keep them happy. It's the ability to to repair and maintain the various places of importance in the country. Those things that are strategic. It is also the ability to pay the military and mercenaries and whatever else, or build ships. And now, I'm not suggesting, and I'm in no way suggesting that the royalty try to claim the dragon horde for their own. Taxation is a thing. It's a legitimate thing, especially for a horde of that size. They may recommend it be may recommend it in the form of a donation to the royal coffers. Helping, and there is, I would argue, on the player's point of view, there's a value in this. There's a value in paying money to the coffers of the king or queen or whoever it is in power. There's a value in paying probably the local lord or baron or whoever is in control of the immediate countryside. It's basically greasing the skids. It's making your life easier in terms of making sure that you have you're getting extra protection for getting the goods out. It is it's buying political influence. Gold is power. Yeah, Kingsley, you're right. Gold is power. Gold keeps the army strong enough to subdue. Creates infrastructure for yep, absolutely. And I mean that's also are you talking in agreement with the local baron, king, before the dragon is killed, or I'm curious about that part. Yeah, okay, that's also a possibility. It's one of those things where, now, I mean, it's a hell of a thing saying, telling them they're going to risk their lives to go kill a dragon and say you're only going to get X% of the horde. I'm the party. I'm like, what are you giving me for that? I'm not entirely sure why that was labeled as such, but okay. There may be a usage of it that I'm not familiar with. There is the question of how much of the horde is inaccessible. That's actually, I'm gonna go back to that in a little bit, Ty, because it's a good point. It is a very good point. But I was going to look at ways around it. Now, here's the other part of it. If you're the player characters and you've killed a dragon, and let's say, for example, there's 200,000 gold coins, 200,000 gold pieces. And, even if you're a party of, 10. Oh, no, let's go with a party of 5. 200,000. That's 40,000 gold pieces. If you're a party of 5, say a party of 5 survivors and 200,000. Yeah, that's 40,000 gold pieces per character. Assuming that the player doesn't decide that they're going to just retire their character right there, and they might. I mean, depending on what level they were when they killed the dragon, it might be the last thing they ever do, and that's fine. How much of that are they realistically going to be able to spend? And if they're going to, because I mean, even the most expensive things, basically it's a matter of, you'd have to get to the point where you're buying land. You are building things of your own, which again becomes a different kind of campaign. And it may be maybe one of those things where it would require the current campaign to either change the nature of it or really create new characters, because these are taking a completely different tack. But even 200,000 gold, and that's at a minimum, say for a large old dragon, to have. Kingsley, good to see you. Thanks so much for jumping in. Talk soon. So, and that's just the gold. That's just the gold coins. You think about gems and jewels thrown in there, where a single gem could be worth anywhere. Let's forget the low end stuff. Some of the more valuable gems could be 500 to a couple thousand gold pieces in value, all on their own. And, goodness knows how many of those are in there. And then you've got the various items that are found. Those are slightly, the ones that are non-magical are slightly tougher sell, but, depending on what they are, you might be able to, get really good value for them. I mean, that's thousands and thousands of more gold coming in. So, it's one of those things where you want to be smart as a player. Let's talk on a player's standpoint. You want to be smart about this. You want, obviously you want your treasure, magic items, any magic items, that's as a player character. Let's talk prioritization. The prioritization for me as a player character, if I was to come in possession of Dragonhoard, first thing is magic items. And then if you don't have somebody in the party who's able to do it, you're going to want to, be able to pay someone to identify those magic items for you. So, there is the matter of hiring, potentially hiring hirelings or henchmen. Really, hirelings are the ones that we're talking about here, or various services, having cast identification on these items, assuming again you don't have a mage. And honestly, you may, unless your wizard's going to be doing nothing but identification for the next 2 years, you probably still want to hire somebody besides that. After that is probably, unless there are any obvious non-magical items that are not jewels or coin that are of obvious value, those might be a priority, though those can also be a bit unwieldy. But I would say gems. Yeah, and Ducat, you're right. They probably could. I agree with you that they probably could. It's just that's going to be, that's almost the point where you have to say, okay, we're going to take a break for a while from the campaign, or there's going to be a gap, depending on how you want to play this. Now, it does bring up campaign opportunities, though, because again, there's the question of who else is interested in the treasure. Let's talk about, again, prioritization. We've gone from, magical items, potentially obviously valuable non-magical items. Then, jewelry may or may not be above those. I actually could make the argument that not jewelry, but jewelry and gems may be above that, just because of the higher end, and it's easier to identify what's really valuable and get an idea. But coin is really the easiest of. I mean, it's the least of your concerns. You know that there's so much of it, and then you need to figure out how to get it out of there. But let's talk hirelings for a moment. What kind of hirelings, would you consider? I mean, I mentioned potentially hiring another wizard who can help with the identification stuff. It all depends on how you handle identification magic identification, and really even detect magic, as well, as you're going along. So there's the possibility of hiring one for that. Are you hiring? Are you hiring extra people, potentially at this point, henchmen, to help guard the horde for you? Is the party basically just taking up residence in the horde? Do they have a way to secure the horde with for when they're not there? Basically, is the place capable of being sealed up in some manner so that no one can access it, I should say, when they aren't there? Lord Forth, yeah, it's a hell of a job. How much figuring out how much you're paying them. I'm going to give you another thought exercise. What do you think the best way, and Ty, this goes back to your point, what do you think the best way of getting the coins out of there is when you do get to that point? I mean, gems, obviously you're going to want to pay for the logistics of transporting gems. So there's going to be a portion of things that are going to be spent. We talk about cutting into the horde, going beyond, basically keeping the local farmers and ranchers happy, basically have them singing your praises by giving them a bunch of gold, more gold they've seen in your lifetime, but still really, really just a little bit in the grand scheme of things. Tensor's floating disc, it would definitely help to carry, but Tensor's floating disc isn't that large. Portable hole or bags of holding are also useful. Mind you, and a portable hole, I'd have to check because I don't remember what the volume. I know bags of holding in CNC, there are multiple types of bags of holding, and each one can hold a certain amount. But you look at a bag of holding, even the largest of the bags of holding is still only going to carry a pittance of the actual treasure. Now, it's great if you want to use it for getting that treasure to where you need to go to buy supplies. Logistics is entirely the reason I play D&D. Now, I mean, if you want, and let's put it this way, if you want to basically don't want to play that entire thing out, you can come up with figure out with your players as a DM, you can come up with a reasonable number that makes sense in terms of how much of this treasure hoard is going to be spent on getting it out of there. There is the and potentially, honestly, what you could do is, if you don't want to sit there and play it out day by day by day, you could do a number of random roll. You could devise a random roll table for threats to it, whether it be a small mercenary company decides that they want to try to take over the horde and kill the player characters, whether it be somebody in my Discord mentioned, did the dragon have a mate somewhere? Did the dragon have a rival somewhere? Is there another dragon that says, "Ooh, I couldn't take this one on my own, but now that it's gone, I'll finish off whoever's there and claim the treasure for my own," or figure that maybe these people are just entirely too tired of fighting dragons and will just go away and leave me to the horde. That's a possibility. But come up with a potential table, and you want there to be a good chance. I would say at bare minimum 50% chance that nothing happens of consequence while they're going through this process of getting the horde out. Or maybe there's a 25% chance that nothing happens. There's also a 25% chance that something minor happens and it results on some small portion of the thing being lost. And you can have like random reasons, whether it is, a few thieves got in, filled their pockets with as much gold as they could. There was some corruption within your hirelings, and some of them were taking stuff. The mage that you hired was, using teleport spells or bags of holding to grab some stuff while they were busy, whatever the case may be. Also, again, why this is really important that you're figuring out how you want to do this. So figure that out. I mean, and it's a table that you might want to work on, tweak, look at it and say, okay, how much do I really want the stuff to happen? And how invested am I in these events happening? I really, honestly, if you're using a percentile die, I would have another dragon comes in be a 1% chance, because that's kind of, and you want to make that roll in front of your players. That's not a hidden roll. They don't need to know what the other numbers mean. You can randomize it and put, have the things all over the place so that they can't guess what the number means. But I would have like either 00 or 00 or 01, which way you want to go with that. Mean that another dragon showed up to try to claim the hoard. But here's a thought for you. What if instead of trying to carry all those coins out of there, you went and paid to have a forge set up at the Dragon's Hoard and turn them into gold bars? Be just as heavy. But at the same time, you've got a better feel, assuming that you're assuming that they're doing it right. Better feel for the weight of them, turning them into gold ingots. Yeah, absolutely. It's easier to count, easier to understand the value. And that is going to be a no. Excuse me for one moment. Yeah, we don't do that stuff here. Thank you. Keeping it keeps the site active, potentially draws new monsters. Because here's the other problem. Let's go with the theory that you decide to keep it all in coin form. What do you foresee the other problem being? Painting ingots red and leaving them bricks. I love it. Let's go with the idea that you've decided, hey, we're going to do this hardcore. We're going to take all the gold we can and just, however many, however what it takes, we're going to bring these gold coins in coin form from the Hoard. So here's the question I pose to you. Where the hell are you putting these coins? I don't know what the banking system in your in your world looks like, but even if you did have, let's just say for a second that you did have legitimate banks, and it's not unheard of. I mean, hell, ancient Rome had a banking system, so it's not like you can't have banks. But even if you did, showing up in the city, because the banks are going to be in the major cities with however many horse-pulled carts stocked full of gold pieces. You think you're gonna have a problem there? Is the bank going to be able to handle it? I mean, I don't know what the banks look like in, even if you have it, do your banks have like a portable hole writ large that they store all the treasure in? It's here's your 2000, in pennies. Bingo. That is cool. Rasco, I like that. That is very, very cool. I like the idea that it does give them access to from any major city. Nice. I need to, I like that idea. I may need to jot that one down. Spell to change them into something easy to move. I'd have to read over how polymorph works, because now you're talking, how is a polymorph spell? How does that work where coins are involved? Because normally you're talking about a single item. Are you letting polymorph suddenly take the entire, deal with an entire section of the horde? What weighs more, a ton of feathers? Oh, Ty, I like you. Oh man. But I could tell you what takes up more space. Well, maybe. Depends on how hard you're pushing down on it anyway. Yeah, I mean, there are options, but again, now you've got a different problem though. Now you have your gold somewhere else, that is no longer under the character's control. Yeah, you hope that the bank is, you hope that the bank is a safe place to put it, and it may be. You may decide that for the purposes of your campaign, banks are sacrosanct and nobody is allowed to touch them. It just doesn't happen. That's fine. I mean, there are plenty of in-game ways to decide that that's just the case. Maybe it's the threat of annihilation by the forces of the kingdom if you decide to mess with the banks. That keeps them from being, keeps from having treasure hoards disappear from it. But you got to transport it to, first of all, you have to get the gold in such a manner that you're able to transport it. So there's that journey. There's the price that you're going to pay in terms of manpower and, stuff like, well, basically manpower to get the gold into the wagons, gold for the wagons and horses themselves, even if you're just well, there is also donation to the gods. If you got any characters who are of a religious bent, especially clerics and paladins, you can bet your bottom gold piece that whatever temples they pray to or gods they pray to are going to want them to do a tithing. And not only that, here's the other thing. If I'm the player characters, I am all finding a temple to make a large donation to, because large donations is a good way to provide assurance that if it ever became necessary, a resurrection spell would be in the offering. It's one of those things where the smart move, when you've got that gold, spend this. If I'm the players, I'm looking for the ways that I can, never mind keeping all the gold, I'm looking for the ways that can spend that gold immediately to get the places that I donation, but must come pick it up. Oh man. Like Facebook Marketplace comes to D&D or what is it? The other one, Craigslist comes to D&D. And that's, again, Ducat, that though, how many hirelings are stealing some gold while they move it? Now, this is one of the reasons that I mentioned the idea of putting it in, building a forge and having them converted into ingots. And also that would go towards the idea of rolling to, if you wanted to cut down on it, roll to see what happens. and figure that some small, tiny, depending on how large the treasure hoard is, figure on some small percentage being mishandled along the way, and chalk it up to the price of doing business. Because the characters, honestly, as long as they're getting the bulk of the treasure hoard, they're not going to miss it. They're really not. And they need to, basically they need to, they kind of, as a player character, you kind of need to understand that. I know the idea is I've got this treasure and I want it all. I want to keep every last bit of it. But, there's this understanding that it's impossible. It literally is impossible. You're going to lose some of it, and just as long as nobody gets ridiculously greedy, let it go. It's not worth the headache. But yeah, you have, you need to consider again what you're doing with it whenever you get it to where it's going. And again, that's going to depend in large part. And honestly, that's one of the questions. I don't know that I've ever thought to ask a DM about what the banking system was in their campaign setting. If I ever was looking at a Dragon's Hoard, that'd be the first question I'm asking, because I need to know what it is they're oh man. Yeah, that there is an interesting thought. Watching your treasure hoard walk away on its own. Oh boy. But yeah, I'd be wondering what the banking system was. Tithing is, more or less, is, I know it's mentioned, especially in some of the early editions. I don't know which versions tithing is mentioned in, but usually giving about 10% of your gold to the, any gold earned to your temple or church or whatever. There is the prospect of hirelings and the costs involved there, whether or not they're actually stealing anything. You may decide that there's two ways you can go about it. You can either pay them the given rate and probably accept that they're going to steal. You can pay them above rate with the idea that if they're caught stealing, they're going to be subject to penalty of death or something like that. And then you can roll to see whether or not they still take that chance, but that's up to you. I honestly, if I'm a player, I'm looking at property. I'm looking at, is there some place available? Because now it's time to start thinking about a stronghold. If you've killed a dragon, you're probably of level where a stronghold is a viable thing for you. And especially if you're playing a campaign where, you're not just looking at your characters, but you're potentially looking at playing your character's offspring and such. Having a place where they're from. And, there are some cool supplements out there in terms of, I think they were more meant for 5e, but you can use them for other things where having a particular type of stronghold confers bonuses on the player characters. Well, yeah, that's a thing of a different alignment, because using animated core. It's one thing to mete out justice. It's another thing to animate them and put them into, animate them and then have them do your bidding. If your character's alignment allows them to go that way, yeah, I guess it's an option. So let me see. I'm looking for other things that had come up. I do, like I said, I do recommend paying a share to the local lord, as well as definitely to the royal coffers, because currying favor with the current rulers of the land is never a bad thing. Especially if you're going on with the idea that you're not going to retire the characters. So there's a chance that they're going to be earning more gold, which means, there's potential for more gold for the kingdom if they find another, sizable treasure thing. It buys political influence. And if that's a portion of the game, that's a great way to go about doing it. It also, from a standpoint of your dealings with the kingdom at hand or wherever it is you're located, there's the understanding that if you're supporting the crown, it's likely that you're not supporting one of their rivals, unless that rival just happens to be the local lord. So, but that presents some interesting, dynamics as well. And potentially, makes it easier for you to get, as characters and as a group to get things done. It may open up certain, as a DM, you can have it open up certain avenues for the players, access to more interesting adventures, use it as a way to get to know people who need things to get done, so that, you have more story hooks, more adventure hooks. They probably should. Let's put it this way. It's a good possibility that no one's ever going to actually know what the exact amount or the full impact of a treasure hoard was. Even, it's one of those things where the party would probably know because the DM would need to tell them, or probably would end up telling them just because, everything they do is relative what the size of the hoard is. So, they kind of need to know what the total is, but you would kind of metagame it so that the players don't, the players may know, but the characters don't know. Just so they can get a general idea of how much their hoard is shrinking. There's a question of, you bring up, not just other dragons, but high level wizards. Sure. Especially with regards to magic items. There's a good possibility, never mind the dragon's gold. There's a good possibility that some of those magic items are more than just your garden variety magic items as well. There's a good chance, if the hoard is old enough and large enough, that you're going to have weapons or suits of armor or stuff that are heirloom items. And, to think of it, one of my favorite adventures doesn't involve a dragon, but it does involve heirloom items. White Plume Mountain. The entire premise of that adventure is you are tasked to go and retrieve 3 intelligent items that were intelligent magic weapons that were stolen from their owners. You think there's a chance that in a massive dragon horde that there might be a weapon of some sort that maybe that it doesn't necessarily need to be intelligent, but I think there's a chance that there's a sword or weapon of some type, or even a standard magic item of some type that is, valued beyond what its straight up number would be. Depending on how long and how widespread the dragon's reign of terror was, I'm thinking it's a very good chance. The dragon's body is worth money too. If you want to go with being able to make armor out of the dragon scales, that's definitely true. I'd have to see what else. I'm not sure what else you're thinking of in terms of the dragon's body. Having a dragon's head mounted somewhere is a hell of a thing. Those of you who play World of Warcraft know that that there was a thing where one of the dragons that you killed, the quest afterward was to bring it to the main city to have the dragon's head mounted on the wall, one of the walls. Magic components. Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that you can use the idea that certain parts of the dragon would make for valuable magic components. I'm not sure if you had ones in particular, but it makes sense. Okay, yeah, there's that. So it's there's a lot there, and really from both from a game master's perspective as well as a player's perspective, um, it becomes a matter of how much time do you want to spend on this, because you if you go and kill a dragon, you could quite literally make a full. Thank you so much, Ty, for dropping in. Thank you for chatting. I appreciate you, my friend, and I cannot wait. I know I tell you this every time I see you, but I cannot wait for New of Arden to drop. I know you mentioned the delay. I know about the delay, but still excited, still waiting for it. See you soon. You know, there's it's a question of how much, how long do you want to spend on the removal of the treasure hoard? How much into detail do you want to go? And for the players, one of the things that you need to consider, and as a game master, you need to make sure that you're not being punitive for the sake of being punitive about this. But there is the understanding that if you want to do this just by rolling a roll dice, that some portion of the treasure is going to go missing along the way. And I would say the vast majority of the treasure that goes missing, not the vast majority of the hoard, but whatever portion of the treasure goes missing, the vast majority of that portion would probably be in gold coin, because it's the easiest thing to have walk out the door. Because you're going to keep a closer eye on any magic items. I mean, maybe gems and jewels, but the smaller things are easy enough to disappear. You just have to decide what's reasonable. And as if you're a GM and the players are willing to accept it, that some portion based on your rolls is going to disappear, you can go that route. I mean, there's nothing wrong, because logistics, it's an interesting thought exercise. I don't know that it makes the greatest role play. I mean, maybe 13-year-old me might have been excited by the prospect of, all right, we got the next month. We're going to figure out how the hell to get this stuff out of here and get as much as we can and do what we want to with it. 50 something, I'm 50, me, not quite as excited by the prospect. Again, it's a hell of a thought exercise, but I'd probably work with as a castle keeper, as a GM, I'd probably work with the party to come up with a plan of what is it they would do. Tell me what your thoughts are. What is it you would do? I would come up with a number for them for how much it would cost. And I'm not talking in like treasure stolen, where how much it would cost reasonably for it to be done, logistically the way they want, whether it's, number of hirelings that they would need at X rate, number of horses and carts that they would need, number of, if they would need to have hirelings or henchmen to help guard the place, what would that cost? Figure out that number. Figure out some percentage of shrinkage beyond. Decide whether or not you want to be, rolling dice for the for the potential for something else to happen. Again, 1% chance of another dragon showing up to claim the hoard is, I wouldn't go any higher than that, because again, I would argue there's a chance that it should happen. I really would hate to do that to the party. I wouldn't give it more than a 1% chance. 2, two at the absolute maximum. But yeah, figure out what else might go on. Figure out what percentage that they're willing to donate, and figure out who they're, and like I'd want to know who they're donating to. Whether, talking about the local people, the local lord, whoever the rulers of the kingdom are, and to any churches and other organizations. Yeah, I mean, and there's why I suggest like putting together some kind of table, and probably doing it in conjunction with your players, as far as what are some of the things that might happen. I honestly, I would kind of like ask for the players' inputs for what are they seeing as some of the possible things that could happen, and then afterwards working with them to figure out what that table should look like in terms of percentages, and then roll dice and let it go. I wouldn't roll dice more than twice for it, assuming if they have got a good plan. Maybe two, and depending on the size of the horde, how long it would reasonably take. Maybe like one die roll per week maybe one die for like every 2 weeks that they would be spending getting the treasure out. Hell, I mean, do they leave a portion of the treasure there and just say, okay, whatever we've left is, first come, first serve? That might cause all kinds of chaos. Especially, I mean, you leave all the silver pieces there. All the silver and copper pieces, that would still cause quite a that would quote it'd be the non-goldiest gold rush ever. But yeah, figure out what those costs would be, figure out how long it would actually take, and then come up with some kind of way to decide if there are any encounters that pop up along the way, and role play those as necessary. But if the understanding is, the players need to have a plan for what their characters are doing with the gold when they do get it out of there. Again, if your campaign does include a banking system and you let them know that the banking system can handle it, then it may be as simple as having the logistics of, getting the treasure and figure out how many trips they need to make back and forth, with the treasure, and, the possibility of encounters along the way. But for the most part, unless it's something that if your table really, really enjoys this portion, spend as long as you like. If they're not really that into it, figure out a way to make it as quick and as fair as possible, and roll the necessary dice, and as long as your players have agreed to live by it, then you let the dice decide what happens next and what it is they have to deal with. I do want to thank everyone for having joined us. The chat was great. I really appreciate all of you. I want to thank Troll Games once again for the raid. I want to thank those of you who are chatting, the subscriptions, the gift subs from Troll Games. I did see a couple of follows in there. Orc Skull, Alexandria RPG, thank you for the follow. T-Cat, thank you for the bits. And let me see. One reminder that we do have the $10 Troller Games digital product coupon, exclamation point, ticket to enter. We'll be doing the drawing shortly. As I look to make sure that Lord Gazumba, he should be live by now. I love when I can't remember where. Oh, there it is. He is live. Excellent. All right. I will give it another minute or till 7:31. And then I will close the drawing and do the giveaway. All right. I'm trying to think if I have anything coming up reasonably soon. I don't have another game scheduled for a bit, working on one. But yeah, so I think the next time you'll see me is this time next week. All right, it is 7:31. I am going to close the giveaway. And the winner of the $10 digital product coupon is Rands a Rock. Rands, do me a favor, send me either send me a Twitch message or send me a message over Discord. My Discord nick is also Phantom NJ. And you can find me also in the Troll Lords Discord. All right, and I will get you the digital product coupon. Congratulations. Hang tight while we get ready to raid Lord Gazumba. Get your raid emotes ready. And we will switch to a stream ending. All right, everybody. Get your raid emotes ready. We're going to be raiding in 3, 2, 1. See you on the flip side.